Hey, this is Perry with Painter's Dream Productions. How you doing? Look who I'm sitting down with, the commander of the U.S. Military All-Stars, Mr. Tank Stone. We're here today because, man, I got to get an update. What's going on with the All-Stars?
It's our 29th anniversary. Our Red, White, and Blue Tour is hitting out of the Pacific Northwest. We have about 3.5 weeks up there. We have 2 Gold Star family ceremonies. Now, that is one of the saddest, but one of the most uplifting honor ceremonies I think that we ever conduct with our guys. We always come into the town and do an honor ceremony of the oldest living vet, anybody that's ever served for our freedoms. But when there's a Gold Star family involved, it's a little bit different. So we have all this set up for about 3.5 weeks up in the Pacific Northwest, Washington and Oregon, before we head out to the Midwest.
Now, one of the changes I know that's taken place is you've got some assistance from Showtime Baseball recently.
Yeehaw. Thank goodness. It's showtime. We have Billy Hayes with a 20-year-old Showtime Baseball Pacific Northwest. He has 22 teams on the West Coast. He's placed almost 2,000 young men into college, independent league, MLB teams throughout the last 19 years. Now that's the kind of partner we need in a baseball team. I take care of the honor, running my mouth, and Billy runs the baseball.
Now, one of the things about the U.S. Military All-Stars that a lot of people don't know is that, again, and one of the statements that the U.S. Military All-Stars is very proud of is it's more than just baseball. I mean,
yes.
Granted, you guys play baseball, but you do media days, you do visitations. Talk about some of the other things you do besides the baseball.
Well, for years, we have a multi-branch, active duty men on orders and or veterans that used to play on the team. Or as we go through different towns, we pick up veterans from the National Guard Armory that might like to swing with the All-Stars while we're playing against semi-pro collegiate teams in their areas. Remember, the number one thing that we do isn't baseball. That's why Perry brought that up. It's more than just baseball. It's honoring. We are invited into communities to assist them in honoring their local vets. Now, if that's not a twist on things, people think we're there to play a baseball game. We're there to assist that community to honor their own vets. And we have a captive audience in a stadium. There are veterans from all over the community coming in to honor each other. Anybody who ever wore a uniform in defense of our freedoms. So to reach more of those people, Perry, what you just said, going to a veteran-owned business, and the towns are full of them everywhere, going to the veteran groups, American Legion, AMVETS, VFW, letting the people know in the corporate structure, could be the sponsors of the opposing teams. We're not looking for the sponsorship of them to sponsor us. We're looking for them to assist their own people they're already working with, to help honor more vets in the town. And then everybody invites you back. That's what the hope is for everything like that.
And for those who are not familiar with the U.S. Military All-Stars, how did the U.S. Military All-Stars get started?
29 years ago, Lieutenant Commander Terry Alvord of the United States Navy had an idea. And it was founded by George Herbert Walker Bush, number 41, God bless him. This was a year that we lost George Herbert Walker Bush. As a matter of fact, Perry, we're putting 41, that was the number president he was, on our left sleeve in honor of President Bush. Next year, we'll keep 41 on, and we start in Texas. So 43, we're looking for you to throw out the first pitch in honor of your dad, but also in honor of our 30th anniversary Red, White, and Blue Tour. So Terry overheard 41 say something at the Naval Academy, or the Naval Museum, excuse me, and saying he wished baseball was the way it was back in World War II. And there really hadn't been anything going through Vietnam and some of the other wars that we had in the breaks. There was just no military camaraderie with baseball. There's teams everywhere, don't get me wrong. Every military base has a softball or a baseball team. But something like what we do, barnstorm, like it used to be during World War II. Hop on a bus and trek across the country. We hit 12, 14 states a year. We try to play 35 to 40 games a year. These young men have never experienced anything like that. They've experienced a heck of a lot more, though, and don't you forget it. From the battlefield to the ball field, these young men. They could be serving right now. So 8 of them are deployed. Won't even be back till February or March this year to play May and June in different states around the country. And then 6 or 8 of them, as soon as we're done, or even before, they can't even stay the whole tour. Off to Afghanistan, Syria, somewhere, Sri Lanka, somewhere around the world defending our freedoms. so that you can come to a baseball game and honor the men and the women that did it before the young kids doing it right now. That's just awesome. So that's how we got together. After this first year, it was all Navy. And it seemed like there was so much more to offer, and Terry saw that. And he invited Marines and Air Force and Coast Guards. That's right, Coasties, we want you. It's great. And then when Space Force happens, watch that. We're going to go a step further. Don't you know it? Come on, first Space Force guy. Commander Tank Stone invites you. But this is serious. These kids, when they visit those nursing homes, they're 18 years old and they're seeing a guy that told me one time, you remember that guy that got slapped by Patton? And he complained? I got kicked in the ass by him and I never complained once. And he pulls out a newspaper article, yellow paper, and there it was, this man when he was in his teens. It's just amazing. It's the most amazing thing. His 75-year-old daughter is on the side of his bed. 75-year-old daughter, and this 18-year-old kid didn't want to be there. And you see him later. Tank, I really got a lot out of that. So it's good. Your war fighters are returned to you commanders in your bases around the world a far better person, I guarantee you.
Well, I know one thing's for sure, that is over the last multiple years that you guys have been running this, there are a lot of people who might think that it's a big, huge organization running this, but it's really not.
It's a big, huge family, a big, huge veteran family, but it's like anything else, and please excuse this way of describing it. We see a commercial, and the mom and the dad are returning home from war. They're dressed up as a sports mascot. They're in the audience. Their kids are in the front of the classroom doing a speech, and all of a sudden they realize there's mom, there's dad. Tell me you don't love that. That is just the best there is. And how many of us will remember it? You won't even get up to go get your Coke. You won't even change the channel. You take it in for a minute. But that's it, a minute. We have Veterans Day, Memorial Day, Flag Day. You know, there's so many days to remind us of what these young men and women do for us. And there's just a small percentage of them doing it for all of us. And the day is over, and 48 hours later, it's forgotten. These kids don't forget when they're ducking baseballs at a game honoring vets one day and ducking bullets 2 weeks later in Afghanistan. They don't forget how important it is every day. That's the people I want to reach right now, Perry. I want to reach those people that get that understand that message. It takes 8 months to let these kids travel for 2 months, to go around and honor thousands, tens of thousands of veterans. We should do this year-round. How could we possibly? Because you can't play baseball year-round. But we can honor every day when you see somebody that's done what they should to stand up for us. That's what this is all about. The commander that started this had his heart in the right place, plus he was Mr. Baseball. I took it over, I'm not Mr. Baseball. That's right, I run a baseball team, but I run it with baseball people. Billy Hayes, Showtime Baseball, that's Mr. Baseball. That's who's going to run the baseball of this. From the high schools through the colleges, into the military, and right off into the Major League Baseball teams. That's what this is about. And I'm real proud to say that. Now let me take care of the honor and getting to the veterans and doing what the rest of us really want to do. Honor men and women that took a moment of their life. They have their God, they have their country, and they have their family, and you're part of that.
With this year coming up, and I mean, obviously, if anybody doesn't know you, they can certainly see your passion for what this is, and that's exactly the reason why Painter's Dream has been involved. Because again, we believe very much into what it is that you're doing, and as technology continues to change, and as these games begin to come to these towns, what can someone expect when they go to a U.S. Military All-Stars game? What can they expect?
I remember the first time we had to plug in music prior to the people coming into the stadium. You actually did this for us back in 2013, I think, or 2015 when we first did this. We have to cover 3 hours of just music. So what music do you put in? Do you put a comedy skit? Well, baseball, comedy, who's on first? So Perry puts in who's on first. And you know, I got to say, that's good. Then we alternate a country song, a semi-rock song. But then we have to do the commercials. Then we have to do the announcements. Then we have to do Old Glory, and we have to do the honor. So Perry puts them on flash drives, and we try to help every team. We send it out in advance. Scripts, they can download scripts. So when the people come in, they're seeing a well-rehearsed 29 years of experience with technology so that they can see something, hear something that they'll remember for the rest of their lives. I tell these guys all the time, Perry, bragging rights for life, because the things that they're going to see on the road, you're going to say, oh yeah, they drive all night in a bus, how fun is that? And they wake up and they have scrambled eggs, and then they run around the field, and then they get ready to go to the nursing home, and they dress up, then they go to the field and practice, then they play a game, and then it's 10 o'clock at night and we're having supper with the opposing team, and we go to the laundromat and wash our uniforms, and we're back into the hotel by midnight to do it all over again. What is to love about that? Catch them at the end of 7 or 8 weeks of doing that. They're tired, they're beat, but they wouldn't have had it any other way, and they have that uniform for the rest of their lives. And I make a joke with all of them, for you past guys that used to play on the team, if you fit in the uniform, you can step on the field anytime with the All-Stars and take that from a big man if you fit in the uniform. I used to always joke with them. They're so 6'1", 180 pounds, anywhere from 18 years old to 25 years old, and this old guy goes out there and it's amazing how in shape they are, how in the right mode they are, how good Christian kids that they are. It's just the most amazing thing. The respect, the loyalty, it's amazing. I have had the best fun and the most rewarding time of my life honoring veterans over the last decade of my life.
One of the things about the U.S. military All-Stars that I really love is your logo. It's not just any USA logo, is it?
No, it's not. The uniforms that we have, we'll be experiencing our first change in a decade next year on our 30th anniversary. We didn't want to do it on our 29th. But the camouflage that we used was known as Desert Storm. So it was single branch, and it was kind of hard to convey multi-branch. There's different digital art out there, but it doesn't come across well on the fabric. So I think what Billy does, Billy's well known for coming up with the best uniforms, World War II era, Vietnam era, the old Negro Traveling League era. I mean, he's just so into these older uniforms. I think what we're going to do is have 2 uniforms. That's less time at the laundromats at night, first of all, but secondly, they'll have a different type of a uniform that they can change into, and we'll make multiple statements as we travel. So it's going to be different. But to get back to your original point, it did seem, because at the time in the 90s, Desert Storm was really big, and 41 really knew how to do it, in and out, and that was the war of wars, and instead of the things that take longer sometimes. So it was very big at the time and accepted. It is time for a change. Could be a suggestion if anybody wants to assist our designer Billy with his uniforms, that you think something would be worthwhile. But we want to convey multi-branch. And maybe it should be rocket ships with this Space Force, right?
But your USA logo is actually, there's a significance to it.
Oh, the logo would stay the same. We have the logo of the USA, and then we have the batter logo. And I was looking at the camouflage on the batter logo is where my mind went. On the S, it's yellow, shaped in the yellow ribbon in the shape of an S, and that's for supporting your troops. And we've gone with different patterns, horizontal, vertical, with that. It fits better on different uniforms. But it's always red, white, and blue, U and A, with an S in the middle connecting it for support your troops.
One of the things which I wanted to talk about in this interview had to do with the gentleman who you met in regards to the Old Glory flag. Okay. And this story is wonderful because it really shows the passion of the U.S. Military All-Stars and how God is using this organization to help impact the lives of our veterans.
First of all, happy birthday, Dean Jacobson, 93, of Kennewick, Washington State. I'll be seeing you in a couple of months. We were there in 2015, you remember. We were working together then also. And we got there, and we had lost our flag, Old Glory, of significance. Terry had a great flag that he carried around for years. After 9/11, the Bush Bullhorn speech, he had one of those flags that were at Ground Zero, and Terry actually wore Ground Zero as his uniform, where I wear number 6 D-Day. That's what I choose with our military reference. We can get into that in a moment. But yeah, it was, I met Mr. Jacobson, a coach of an opposing team coach, showed me a clipping in a newspaper. And here's this proud 93-year-old man standing in front of Old Glory. Well, at that time he was 90 or 89 at that time, excuse me. But he was standing, and there's big flag. I mean, it's an 8-foot by 12-foot flag, just as big as you can imagine. It was made here in the United States out of wool with 48 stars, and it was built, created in 1921. In 1924, he was on Saipan Island as an Army Seabee, rebuilding the airstrips after the Japanese had bombed the island. We took the island back and rebuilt it. He was the last man off the island, his responsibility to pull Old Glory down. I don't think they had a flagpole. I think they actually had it up in a stripped tree. So I think he literally climbed up a tree and got Old Glory down, stuffed it in his duffel bag, and came home a year later, 1925, from his battle. Got married to the love of his life for 61 years. They had the time of their lives in Kennewick, Washington. She passed the year before I met him. The article was about when he hired somebody to clean out her sewing room, he found the flag. And it just brought back all the memories and the tears, and I was there just not too long after that. I did Old Glory. That's one of my voiceovers that you have helped me do videos and audios of over the years. My name is Old Glory, and I do a rendition of it. I asked him if he'd like to hear it. He sat me down in his living room, and I pulled it up on my iPhone, and I put it up in front of him, and we played it. It's about 2.5 minutes long. Tears running down his eyes. Because this is a man that gets it. He gets, that's a man that would never kneel. Now, Tim Tebow can kneel, but he's kneeling for the right reasons. But that's a man that would never yield or kneel to the patriotism that Old Glory represents. And he started crying. It's over. I put the phone away, and I said, did you like that video? Because I was real proud of what you did. That's one of the nicest videos. Go online, usmilitaryallstars.com, under media, under videos, and look at Old Glory. You can't miss it. But when Perry put that together, and he watched it, and he was crying, I just knew he got it. And he said, Tank, I've been blind for 2 years. And I started, but not as much as I did after I left. I'm, 6'4", 270 pounds. And it's a manly thing. It's okay to cry, but I'm in this guy's living room, and I got this opposing coach, and I'm Commander Tank Stone, and I just started. So just a little bit out of the corner of my eyes. And he said, I did enjoy listening to it, though, like that, with his humor. And he did have humor. He still does at 93. And God bless him, he's got good humor. He asked me to go down to the hallway and open up a drawer and bring him that. And it was the flag. It was Old Glory. And I brought it to him. And he said that he would like the All-Stars to have that flag that he brought back from Saipan Island. And that's when they started on this side, just a little bit, because this is a flag of significance. This is a flag that we take around in a glass case that thousands of people can hear this story. It's online also, the audio story and the written story of what Mr. Dean Jacobson did. And as I'm walking out and shaking his hand and giving him a hug, I said, are you sure? And he came to the game that night, and we honored him for what he did. And he handed us the flag at the stadium in front of everybody instead of just in his living room, to make that official and on TV and just everything. And he turned around and he said, as I was walking down his stoop, his front steps, he said, Tank, I didn't tell you something. And I said, what is that? He said, I did it in Okinawa too. I'll keep that one though. Oh my God, that's Mr. Jacobson. He'll see that this year. He's 50 miles away from a game that we're conducting this year in Walla Walla, Washington. It's a Gold Star family ceremony on July 12th in Walla Walla. And I'm going to slide over those 50 miles and see Dean. I don't think he's healthy enough to come to the game, but I'm going to go see Dean. And we'll take some pictures and update our story about Mr. Jacobson. Thanks for asking. That's a good story.
Well, folks, that's just a little bit of the info on what's going on with the U.S. Military All-Stars. For more information, visit usmilitaryallstars.com. You can see the schedule, the roster. Things are beginning to get heated up again. And I just want to thank you for taking the time, Tank, to shoot this, because people need to know what's going on.
Well, that's the Pacific Northwest. We didn't even get into the Midwest. Illinois, Indiana, Missouri, all the games that we play there, we packed them. The stadiums are standing room only, and they invited us back 2 years in a row. Tell me about that now. If we just went to the same place every year, we could really have some fun, but then it would be limited. So we're going to start going different routes, but I'm going to cut through the Midwest for the next 2 years. Thank you, Midwest.
All right, guys. We'll see you soon.
Take care.